Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at Devyani International Limited, or DIL, as they're known in the financial world.
That's right. We're going to unpack their latest financial reports and see what we can learn about this QSR powerhouse.
Think of it as your shortcut to understanding how they're performing, what new brands they've acquired, and where they're planning to expand next.
We'll break down all the complex stuff and give you the insights you need to know.
Sounds good. Now, for anyone who needs a quick refresher, can you remind us what exactly DIL is all about?
DIL is basically the king of franchisees in India.
The king, huh? So they're the top dog.
You got it.
Yeah.
They're the biggest franchisee of Yum brands, which means they're the ones bringing you all those KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell locations you see popping up everywhere.
Ah, those are some serious heavy hitters in the fast food world.
Exactly. And they're not stopping there. They're operating nearly 2,000 stores across India, Nigeria, Nepal, and even Thailand.
Wow, they're really covering a lot of ground. Talk about global ambition.
They're definitely thinking big. But let's get down to brass tacks. How did they actually perform in the last quarter?
Yeah, that's what we're all here for. What do the numbers tell us?
Get ready for some serious growth. Their revenue in Q2 of the 2025 fiscal year shot up by a whopping 49% compared to last year.
49%. That's incredible. So they're raking in a lot more cash.
They are. But there's a little twist to this success story.
What's that?
Even though their revenue is soaring, the percentage of profit they're making on each sale has dipped a little.
I see. So their margins are shrinking a bit.
Exactly. There are a couple of reasons for that.
Okay, I'm all ears. Spill the beans.
First, everyone's feeling the pinch of inflation these days, and that includes businesses like DIL. The cost of ingredients and running those restaurants has gone up, which can cut into profits.
Makes sense. It's not just our grocery bills that are getting more expensive.
Right. And second, remember all that expansion we talked about. Opening new stores takes a lot of upfront investment, and those costs can temporarily impact margins.
So it's like they're planting seeds for future growth, even if it means a slightly smaller harvest in the short term.
That's a great way to put it. They're playing the long game.
Speaking of growth, they seem to be adding new stores at an incredible pace.
They are. They added a jaw-dropping 139 new stores in just the first half of this fiscal year.
139. That's almost a new store every other day.
They're on a roll. And get this, they're aiming to hit a milestone of 2,000 stores before the year is over.
Wow, they're not messing around. But where exactly are all these new stores popping up? Are they focusing on any particular regions?
They've got a really interesting strategy when it comes to their core brands like KFC and Pizza Hut. They've divided India into regions and are carefully placing stores based on local tastes and preferences. For example, the North and South regions are neck and neck, each accounting for 36% of their store count.
So those are their strongholds.
Yeah.
What about the other regions? Are they just ignoring the rest of India?
Not at all. The West region actually has the smallest share at 8%. This tells us that DIL is being really strategic about their expansion. They're not just randomly scattering stores everywhere, they're analyzing each region's demographics, economic factors, and even the competition to figure out where they'll have the biggest impact.
It's like they're playing a game of chess, carefully planning each move to conquer the market.
That's a great analogy. They're definitely not leaving anything to chance.
Okay, so they're growing their existing brands like crazy, but they're also adding some exciting new flavors to their portfolio.
This is where their food on the go and house of brands strategies really come into play. They're all about offering a wide variety of options for busy people who want delicious food fast.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So tell us about these new brands they've acquired.
They've recently added 3 new brands to their lineup: T-Live New York Fries and Snook Kitchen.
Wow, that's quite a mix. Bubble tea fries and Thai food. They're really diversifying their offerings.
They are. Let's start with T-Live. They're the #1 bubble tea brand in Malaysia, known for their incredibly extensive menu. Think over 50 different kinds of bubble tea.
50. That's a bubble tea lover's paradise.
From classic milk teas to innovative concoctions with brown sugar, grass jelly, and even lotus biscoff, they've got something for everyone.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. What about New York fries? What makes them so special?
Well, you know how much people love those crispy golden fries? New York Fries takes that classic comfort food to the next level. They're famous for their premium fries, hot dogs, and poutine.
Poutine, oh my goodness. I'm already drooling. I can't wait to try that when they launch in India.
You won't be disappointed. And then we have Sanook Kitchen, a Singapore-based brand specializing in Thai and Asian cuisine. They're all about bold flavors and authentic dishes, bringing a taste of Southeast Asia to India.
It sounds like a culinary adventure, so they're really tapping into those global flavors.
They are. And they're not just catering to existing demands. They're shaping future trends by introducing new tastes and experiences to the Indian market.
It's like they're creating a global food festival all under one roof.
That's a great way to put it. They're giving people a taste of the world without having to leave their city.
So they're adding all these new brands, but they're not neglecting their core brands, right? What are they doing to keep KFC, Pizza Hut, and the others fresh and exciting?
They're constantly innovating. For example, KFC has rolled out new variations of their popular rolls featuring both national and international flavors.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
So they're keeping up with the latest food trends.
Think chicken tikka masala rolls alongside Korean BBQ and spicy Nashville hot chicken options.
Wow, those sound amazing. They're really giving people a reason to come back for more.
Exactly. And Pizza Hut has also been experimenting. They recently relaunched their Mamma Mia pizza with an improved recipe combining the beloved Italian dish with the popular Indian street food momos.
Mamma mia. That's a clever fusion of flavors. They're really tapping into those local cravings.
And it's not just about pizza and fried chicken. Costa Coffee, which DIL also owns, is expanding its food offerings beyond just pastries and muffins. They're now offering quiches, calzones, and tarts, aiming to become a more complete dining destination.
So they're not just a coffee stop anymore. They're becoming a place where you can grab a quick and tasty lunch or even a light dinner.
Exactly. And they're also introducing seasonal beverages and regional variations to cater to different tastes.
It's incredible how they're constantly evolving and adapting to what people want. It's like they have their finger on the pulse of the Indian consumer.
And let's not forget their homegrown Indian brand, Vaango, which specializes in traditional South Indian cuisine. They've introduced a line of packaged snacks like banana chips, maruku, and a madras mixture, along with their filter coffee decoction, making it easy for people to enjoy those authentic flavors at home.
It's like bringing a taste of home to those who are on the go or maybe missing those familiar flavors.
Exactly. It's a smart move to expand beyond the restaurant setting and offer those convenient grab-and-go options.
So they're expanding aggressively, diversifying their brands and innovating within their existing portfolio. They're really firing on all cylinders. But what about the new brands they've acquired? What's the game plan for bringing those to India?
They're in the strategic planning phase right now, working closely with the franchisors to finalize their entry strategies. They're building up their management teams, working on adapting the menus to local tastes, and developing their business plans.
It sounds like they're laying the groundwork for a successful launch.
Absolutely. Bringing a new brand to a market as large and diverse as India is no easy feat. They need to make sure they get it right.
So when can we expect to see these new brands popping up across India? I'm already craving those bubble teas and poutine.
Yeah, the rollout is expected to start from April 2025 onward, so you won't have to wait too long to get your fix. But launching new brands in a market that's already jam-packed with options can be a challenge.
Especially with international brands that might not be as familiar to the average Indian consumer. What are some of the hurdles they might face?
One of the biggest challenges will be building brand awareness and trust. Indian consumers are incredibly discerning, and they have a lot of choices when it comes to dining out or ordering in DIL. We'll need to create compelling marketing campaigns that introduce these new brands and highlight what makes them special.
They need to create a buzz and convince people to give these new brands a try.
Exactly. And they'll also need to make sure the pricing and positioning of these new brands are right for the Indian market.
It's a delicate balancing act. But on the flip side, there's also a huge opportunity here. The Indian middle class is growing rapidly, and with that comes an increased appetite for new experiences, including international cuisines.
You're absolutely right. DIL is in a prime position to capitalize on this trend and become the go-to destination for global flavors in India.
Okay, so we've talked about DIL's impressive growth, their new brand acquisitions, and their plans for expansion. But we're just scratching the surface here. There's a lot more to unpack, especially when it comes to their financial performance and what it all means for their future.
You're right. Let's dive deeper into those numbers and see what other insights we can uncover.
Sounds good to me. Let's take a closer look at their financial reports and see what's really cooking.
All right, welcome back. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty of DIL's recent financial performance.
Okay, let's crunch some numbers. What jumped out at you when you first looked at their performance over the past few quarters?
What really caught my eye was how consistently their revenue from operations has been climbing upwards.
So we're talking about a steady upward trend.
Exactly. If we look at their consolidated figures, their revenue in Q2 of fiscal year 2024 was INR 8,195 million.
Okay, that's a pretty solid starting point.
It is. Now, hold on tight because in Q1 of fiscal year 2025, that figure jumped to INR 12,219 million.
Wow. So they more than INR 4,000 million in just one quarter.
And the momentum didn't stop there. Q2 of fiscal year 2025 clocked in at INR 12,221 million.
So even though their margins might be shrinking a bit, as we discussed earlier, their overall revenue is still increasing. It seems like they're making up for any profit squeeze through sheer volume.
You got it. They're growing rapidly and bringing in more cash, which gives them more flexibility to invest in new ventures and weather any short-term challenges.
It's like they're building a solid foundation for long-term success by focusing on growth right now.
Exactly. Now, let's zoom in on the Indian market specifically. How are their core brands performing there?
Yeah, I'm especially curious about KFC and Pizza Hut. Those are the big names that come to mind when I think of DIL.
You're right, and their performance reveals some interesting insights. KFC India is a star performer. They saw a solid 6.8% year-on-year growth in Q2 of fiscal year 2025, reaching a revenue of INR 543 crore.
That's impressive. What about Pizza Hut? Are they keeping pace with that growth?
Pizza Hut India experienced more modest growth at 0.5% year-on-year, with a revenue of INR 185 crore.
So KFC is pulling ahead in the revenue race. But you know what they say? Numbers don't always tell the whole story.
You're absolutely right. We need to look beyond just the top-line revenue figures to really understand what's going on.
So what other metrics should we be paying attention to?
One crucial metric is same-store sales growth, or SSSG for short.
SSSG. Okay, that sounds important. But I think some of our listeners might not be familiar with that term. Could you break it down for us?
Of course. SSSG is basically a way of measuring how much revenue is coming from existing stores, rather than just new store openings. It's a way to see how well a company is doing at attracting customers to their established locations.
So it's like checking the pulse of those existing stores to see if they're still thriving even as new locations pop up.
Exactly. It's a great way to gauge customer loyalty and the overall health of a brand.
So if a brand has a high SSSG, it means people are coming back for more, and those stores are holding their own even as new locations are added to the mix.
That's a great way to put it. It shows that the brand has staying power and isn't just relying on the excitement of new openings to drive sales.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I'm curious to know what the SSSG numbers look like for KFC and Pizza Hut in India.
Well, for KFC India, in Q2 of fiscal year 2025, their SSSG was nitidly 3.9%.
Wait a minute, negative 3.9%. Doesn't that mean their existing stores are actually seeing a decline in sales?
That's right. It suggests that even though they're adding new stores at a rapid pace, their existing stores might be facing some headwinds when it comes to maintaining sales growth. It's possible that some of those new store openings are cannibalizing sales from nearby locations, especially if they're too close together.
It's like having too many cooks in the kitchen. They might be stepping on each other's toes instead of expanding the customer base.
That's a great analogy. DIL needs to be strategic about their store placement to make sure they're not oversaturating certain areas.
All right, let's move on to Costa Coffee. How are they faring amidst all this expansion and talk of shrinking margins?
Costa Coffee is actually a bright spot in their portfolio. They saw a very impressive jump in revenue with a 41.6% year-on-year growth in Q2 of fiscal year 2025, reaching INR 49 crore.
Wow, that's a huge leap. What's fueling that growth? Are people just suddenly obsessed with coffee?
It's likely a combination of factors. They've been introducing new food items, seasonal beverages, and regional variations to appeal to a wider range of tastes and preferences.
So they're not just a coffee shop anymore. They're becoming more of a destination for food and a variety of drinks.
Precisely. They're expanding their menu and creating a more well-rounded cafe experience to attract a larger share of the market.
And they're not limiting themselves to India either. They're expanding their global footprint as well.
Absolutely. They added 15 new Costa Coffee stores globally just in Q2, which shows their ambition to become a major player in the international coffee scene.
Now, let's not forget Vaango, their homegrown Indian brand that specializes in traditional South Indian cuisine. What's their growth story looking like?
Vaango's performance is particularly interesting because they're operating in a more niche market compared to those global giants like KFC and Pizza.
Right. It's great to see DIL nurturing a local brand alongside those international powerhouses. It shows a commitment to celebrating Indian culinary heritage.
Absolutely, and they're doing a great job at it. Vaango's revenue has been growing steadily, and they've been adding new stores at a decent pace. They added 18 new Vaango stores in Q2, bringing their total store count to 90.
That's impressive for a brand that's focused on a specific cuisine. It seems like they've found a winning formula for appealing to those who crave authentic South Indian flavors.
They're definitely tapping into a growing market and satisfying those cravings.
Okay, so we've covered revenue, margins, and store expansion.
Okay.
Now let's get to the bottom line. What's the story with their overall profitability? Are they actually making money with all this growth?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Let's dive into their consolidated profit and loss statement and see what those numbers reveal.
Time to see if all those burgers, pizzas, and cups of coffee are translating into cold, hard cash.
In Q2 of fiscal year 2024, their consolidated EBITDA was INR 1,588 million, with a healthy margin of 19.4%.
EBITDA. Sorry to interrupt, but could you remind us what that stands for again? It's not exactly everyday vocabulary.
No problem at all. EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's essentially a way of measuring a company's operating profitability, or how much money they're making from their core business activities before taking into account things like interest expenses, taxes, and the depreciation of assets.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
So they had a healthy EBITDA margin in Q2 of fiscal year 2024. What about the following year?
In Q2 of fiscal year 2025, their EBITDA increased to INR 1,987 million.
That's great. Their profits are growing.
Yes, but there's a slight twist. The margin actually decreased to 16.3%.
So they're making more money overall, but the percentage of profit they're making on each sale has shrunk a bit.
Exactly. This ties back to those shrinking margins we discussed earlier, likely due to increased costs and investments in expansion.
It's a bit like running a marathon. You might be getting closer to the finish line, but you're also expending more energy along the way.
That's a great analogy. DIL is definitely in it for the long haul, and they're making strategic decisions to position themselves for future success, even if it means navigating some short-term fluctuations in profitability.
So their profit journey might have some ups and downs, but the overall trend seems to be positive.
That's a fair assessment. Now let's talk about their profit before tax, or PBT, which is another key indicator of financial health.
Okay, let's see what their PBT numbers look like.
In Q2 of fiscal year 2025, their PBT was actually a negative INR 4 crore compared to a positive INR 19 crore in Q2 of fiscal year 2024.
Wait a minute, a negative PBT, does that mean they're actually losing money?
It means that their expenses exceeded their revenues during that particular quarter. This is partly due to increased finance costs, depreciation, and amortization expenses.
So those investments in expansion are definitely impacting their bottom line in the short term.
They are, but it's important to remember that these numbers are just a snapshot in time. It's crucial to look at their performance over a longer period and consider the bigger picture.
Right. It's like judging a book by its cover. You need to read the whole story to understand the context and the nuances.
Exactly. And DIL's story is one of growth, ambition, and a commitment to building a global QSR empire. They're making strategic decisions that might impact their profitability in the short term, but are designed to set them up for long-term success.
So we shouldn't be too alarmed by those negative PBT numbers. They're just part of the journey.
Precisely. It's like a roller coaster. There are going to be ups and downs, but the overall direction is still upward.
All right, that makes me feel better. Now, I'm curious to know how they're managing their money and what their financial position looks like overall.
Let's take a closer look at their balance sheet to see how they're handling their assets and liabilities.
Okay, let's dive into that balance sheet and see what financial treasures we can unearth.
All right, welcome back. We just dove deep into DIL's financial statements, but numbers only tell part of the story.
That's right. Let's shift gears a bit and explore those creative strategies DIL is using to really connect with consumers.
You're thinking about marketing, right?
Exactly. What kind of campaigns have they been running? How are they engaging with their audience?
Well, one thing that really stands out is how they're tailoring their marketing efforts to each specific brand.
Makes sense. Each brand has its own unique identity and target audience.
Right. So they're not just using a one-size-fits-all approach.
So give us some examples. What kind of campaigns have they been running?
Well, KFC has been making a splash with their series of ads promoting their new roll variations.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. They're super catchy.
They're using bold colors, catchy jingles, and even humor to really connect with a younger audience.
It seems like they're really going all out to promote these new roles.
Definitely. They're running these campaigns across multiple platforms like television, social media, and even on those online food delivery apps.
Smart move. Got to meet those hungry customers wherever they are.
Exactly. And Pizza Hut has also been pretty active with their marketing. They've been running some hilarious campaigns to promote their Momo Mia
I
pizza.
remember those ads. They were
Yeah.
really funny.
Humor is a great way to make a brand memorable. And they've done a great job of tapping into those local tastes and preferences with that fusion of Italian and Indian flavors.
It's like they're saying, hey, we get you. We know what you like.
Exactly. Now, what about Costa Coffee? They've been trying to position themselves as more than just a quick coffee stop, right?
Yeah, they're aiming for that more elevated cafe experience with their expanded food menu. So how are they getting that message across?
Their campaigns have been all about showcasing the quality and freshness of their ingredients.
It's like they're inviting you to savor every sip and every bite.
Exactly. They're also really active on social media, running contests, sharing those tempting behind-the-scenes glimpses of their baristas at work, and even offering special promotions to their followers.
It's all about building a community around the brand and making those personal connections.
And Vaango, their homegrown Indian brand, has been taking a different approach with their marketing.
Oh, how so?
They're all about those traditional South Indian flavors, right? So their campaigns are all about evoking a sense of nostalgia and celebrating Indian heritage.
It's like they're bringing a taste of home to the masses.
They use traditional imagery, heartwarming storytelling, and of course those authentic flavors to create an emotional connection with their audience.
It's a powerful way to stand out in a crowded market.
Absolutely. And they're also introducing those traditional flavors to a whole new generation, which is fantastic.
I love how DIL is embracing both tradition and innovation in their marketing efforts.
They're definitely not afraid to experiment and try new things.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of Devyani International Limited. We've learned so much about their impressive growth, their diverse brand portfolio, their strategic acquisitions, their financial performance, their innovative marketing campaigns, and their vision for the future.
It's been a pleasure exploring this dynamic company with you. They're a real force to be reckoned with in the global QSR landscape, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have.
Remember, the world of business is constantly changing, so stay curious and keep exploring.
And join us again next time for another exciting deep dive into the world of business and finance.